And good day, everybody. This is Z. Marcel Portut, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer show. We're actually recording this from Brooklyn, New York. And if you hear the dog barking, I'm at my cousin's place, and Poopy doesn't understand podcasting and listening or being quiet while you're recording a show. So there might be a lot of barking or some noise from the streets. But yeah, we're very excited to be recording today on September 26, 2019. We're in New York because we attend the Atlanta United match at New York City FC. We'll break down that match and Atlanta United in general. Before we get to that, we're going to preview the upcoming week of the NFL season. We're now in week 4, so we're starting to see some separation between some good teams and some not some good teams. It'll all make sense as we go over each and every game. But as always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, thesportsinquirer.net. As I mentioned, I went to the Atlanta United contest. We have exclusive. Well, it's technically not exclusive. I keep saying exclusive. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But as far as media goes outside of Atlanta United, we have exclusive video of the post-game pressers of manager Frank de Boer, Brad Guzan, goalkeeper, and forward Brandon Vasquez. Highly recommend that you listen to it. We're going to play some clips from it throughout the show. But it was not a good performance, and they break down deeply into what the struggles were in the contest. So I highly recommend that you head to the site and check that out. You can also see our content from Georgia State football, Georgia Tech, and Georgia State volleyball. Things throughout. We're going to start having some more Atlanta Hawks content. Their media day is on Monday as we're recording this show. So now that NBA preseason is about to start, we're going to get some NBA going and football as well. So it's a very busy time for the site. And MLS playoffs are fastly approaching. Atlanta will be in that. So we got a lot going on the site. So best way to follow everything that we're doing is just head straight to the site itself, thesportsinquirer.net. Social media-wise, you go to our Twitter and Instagram and search Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. Every time that we post something new on our site, it is directly sent to our Twitter and Instagram. So if you want to find our information through those means, highly recommend that you subscribe to our accounts, and you'll get it there. You can also go to Facebook under our pages, The Sports Inquirer and Sports Inquirer. Those are great ways to follow everything. And finally, if you want to get archives of our past shows of the Sports Inquirer show as you listen to right now, or if you want to get to Verbal Submission, which is our combat sports podcast that we have not recorded in a very long time. I was going over our archives, and while I was backlogging our information, I was like, we haven't done a verbal submission show in almost a month. That's way too long. When I get back to Atlanta, I really want to do that. But you can see our previous shows from the past there. We'll start bringing back the NFL specific shows. We've been doing some more general ones recently as far as merging MLS and NFL, but we do need to bring Gridiron Blitz and make that a specific podcast. We'll get that going. Technical state of Georgia State athletics, which focuses on collegiate athletics in the state of Georgia. Basketball practice has started, so we'll have some basketball content there as well as football, as always. And everything else, just follow everything that we're doing as far as the audio content on SoundCloud and on iTunes, and just subscribe to it on YouTube as well under Sports Inquirer. Just do a search, very easy, and you'll see everything that we're doing there. We're going to take our first break of the show, and when we come back, we're going to go into the Gridiron Blitz portion of our show when we preview Week 4 of the NFL season here on the Sports Inquirer show. All right, welcome back to Sports Inquirer show. Marcel Portut here with you. Now we're going to look at Week 4 of the NFL season. Very interesting time. We're starting to see some separation between the good teams and the not-so-good teams. Now, there are some teams that are undefeated right now or only have one loss that you're looking at and saying they may not be in the postseason. And there are some teams that are off to some slow starts, like Philadelphia, which plays tonight 1-2. You figure if things work out, it could turn around for them. But you got to respect the fact that there are 4 teams that missed the postseason last year in Buffalo, Detroit, Green Bay, and San Francisco that are undefeated through the first 3 weeks of the 2019 season. I say undefeated because you have Detroit that's 2-1. Remember, they opened the season in Arizona and had a tie. So it marks the 4th time in the past 4 years that there are at least 4 teams that started the season undefeated through the first 3 games after missing the previous season. And actually, that's the first time it's happened since 1990. And let's see. I got a lot of stats. So here it is. It has happened right now with the 4 teams, as I mentioned. It's happened 3 other times since 1990, in 2013, 2003, and 2002. So it has happened, but not as frequently as you would think. And the passing is another big aspect of the first 3 weeks of the season. You have 11 quarterbacks that have a passer rating of 100 or higher with minimum 20 passing attempts, which is the most the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. And they go from rookies or second-year guys like Daniel Jones of the Giants, Gardner Minshew of Jacksonville, Kyle Allen, Carolina, had that big performance in his first start of the year in the win over Arizona. Lamar Jackson, we've seen what he's done over the first 3 weeks. And total 6 quarterbacks under the age of 25 and 8 under the age of 30 have a passer rating of 100 or higher the first 3 weeks. And you look at how those situations are started. They're replacing sometimes legendary, borderline Hall of Fame guys or guys who've been established starters over the past 5 to 10 years. We look at the Giants. Daniel Jones, obviously replacing Eli Manning. You have Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. He is in for Nick Foles, who has the broken collarbone, and he's going to be out for a very long amount of time. Kyle Allen, Cam Newton, injured foot, dealing and also shoulder issues as well, and he may not be back for the next few weeks. And Lamar Jackson replaced Joe Flacco last season in Baltimore. So you're seeing some injuries and ineptitude as far as Eli Manning goes of guys finding their way onto the field at a young age and performing very well. And we'll start off with it's a kind of similar situation of guys trying to find their way with Green Bay hosting Philadelphia today. The Green Bay Packers are 4.5-point favorite over the Eagles. Philly is coming off a loss to the undefeated Detroit Lions 27-24. Green Bay defeated Denver 27-16. You have 2 established quarterbacks that are really having to readjust themselves at different points of their career. Look at Aaron Rodgers, well established, multiple-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer. However, he has had to make an adjustment with LaFleur as a new head coach. And the first head coach he's had in 10 years, with McCartney leaving the team. So now you have Aaron Rodgers. The numbers are not as high as they have been in the past, but you look at the Packers, open the season with a win at Chicago, obviously won last week against Denver. You have a team defensively that is putting up some very good numbers. And they also won at home against Minnesota. So you figure that Aaron Rodgers will get it turned around offensively and find a way to get that going. Then you look on the other side, Carson Wentz with Philadelphia. We know 2 years ago, played the first 12, 13 games, looked like a MVP candidate. They tears his ACL playing against the Rams in Los Angeles. Nick Foles goes in, they win the Super Bowl. Last year, inconsistent near ups and downs, but ends up having his season shut down, the 2018 campaign, due to a back injury. Nick Foles comes in once again, leads them to the playoffs, and the Eagles end up winning a playoff game at Chicago. Now Foles has moved on to Jacksonville. This is Carson Wentz's team. There's no backups that are going to replace him. It's his squad. However, you're seeing that rustiness in him not having it completely together, and that's led to some confusing losses where they beat Washington opening week of the year. Looked good there. Deshaun Jackson, big touchdown passes or catches for them. But now Jackson's been out. Aguilar, they've been dealing with some injuries at receiver. And the Eagles have lost consecutive contests to Detroit. And what's they lose to? Oh, they lost to Atlanta last Sunday night in week 3. So you're dealing with all of that stuff. Or week 2 of the season, they lost at Atlanta. So Philadelphia is on the road at Green Bay, necessarily not in a must-win situation, but Dallas has found a way to start their season undefeated. We'll get to Dallas in a moment. But you have to figure, if you look at the way the NFC is laying out, the only way to get into the playoffs from the East may be to win the division. And taking a loss at Green Bay, an NFC opponent, would be a bad look. But I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to win this contest. 45.5 points is a large number, I think, for these type of games. And as I've said before, and I need to do the research, and I'm sure someone has done it, but you look at the statistics, the visiting team on these Thursday night games are at such a disadvantage because they have one less of. You're already disadvantaged playing on Thursday night after playing on Sunday, but you figure you're on a plane on Wednesday. You just played a game on Sunday. Monday you're recovering physically and mentally. Tuesday you get on the field. Technically it's supposed to be usually your day off on a normal work week for the NFL, Tuesday, but you're on the practice field. Wednesday you got to do some work and then get on a plane and travel across the country. Very tough. Now Green Bay has to do the same thing, but at least they're at home. So that's why I lean towards the home teams in a lot of these situations, and that's how I feel it's going to go for that contest. Houston is a 4.5-point favorite at home against Carolina. Houston was able to win at the LA Chargers 27-20. AFC Central is a very interesting division. With the injuries to Foles in Jacksonville, the ineptitude of quarterback at Tennessee, and Andrew Luck's retirement in Indianapolis, you have to figure that the Texans will be the team to step up and be the clear leader of the division. That has not necessarily worked out. They've been very inconsistent. They got to win at the Chargers 27-20, but they also lost at New Orleans when they had Drew Brees, so not the worst loss in the world, but defensive ineptitude, not being able to protect Deshaun Watson consistently. You add all of that together, and you have some major struggles. And they do face a team in Carolina that has a hot quarterback in Kyle Allen, threw for 261 yards and 4 TDs and no interceptions in the Panthers' Week 3 win, as I mentioned, over Arizona. His passer rating, 144.4, is, I said, above that 130 as we talked about earlier. So if he has 2 more touchdown passes and no picks at Houston, he'll become the first player in the Super Bowl era throw at least 2 TD passes without a pick in his first 3 career starts, because he had a performance like that in the Week 17 of last season. So he has played 2 games and very impressive. And if he wins this one, it'll be a very good look for him. I still think Houston, though, this is the type of game that if they have any aspirations to be a division winner, they have to win this contest. And I think that's what we'll see in that situation. Baltimore, 7-point favorite at home against Cleveland. Look, Lamar Jackson, he started off so well with his first 2 games. Granted, he played Miami in the first one, put up some big numbers and everything like that. And then Week 2, he was able to get a big win. Going to Kansas City and losing 33-28, not the worst thing in the world, but you saw some exposures there. And the fact that he ran the ball quite a bit. I'm very concerned for him as far as him staying upright and staying healthy for the entire year. I think he ran the ball double-digit times in the contest. I know Harbaugh, his head coach, is talking about we're going to have a new type of offense that's going to revolutionize the game. But him having Lamar Jackson running the ball 10, 15 times a contest is not the way to do it. And he goes into a home game against Cleveland that's really trying to find itself. Cleveland, I bought into the hype. I say necessarily bought into the hype. I guess if you bought into it, you said they'd be a Super Bowl team. I said that they would win the division, the AFC North, and they still can do that. But they have a lot of things they need to improve on. And it was all exposed in that 20-13 loss at home to the LA Rams. Defensively, I think they're okay. Myles Garrett has flashes of brilliance and dominance, but he's not consistent enough. But I think defensively, they're going to do some things that'll keep them in a lot of contests. It's the offense, and that's the whole offseason was offense. They promoted Freddie Kitchens, who this time last year was running back coach of the Browns. So he went from that to offensive coordinator when Hugh Jackson got fired and Greg Williams was ascended into the interim head coach. The Browns put together some good numbers offensively, and you don't do outside interviews. You directly promote Freddie Kitchens from running back coach to offensive coordinator to head coach, all within less than a year in the calendar. That's a big step up for him. That 4th and 8 call that they ran the draw, you've seen some inconsistencies with the team it's a big step up for him. You look at Baker Mayfield holding the ball too long. You see him taking a lot of unnecessary sacks. You see him force the ball to Odell Beckham, which has led to some interceptions. And I will say this also with the Browns. There were several situations. There was one in particular in that contest. It wasn't a fourth down play, but that was highly questioned, as it should have been. I think it was about 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. And all of the receivers, Landry, Odell Beckham, running 10, 15 yards down the field, running these elaborate big routes. When it's 3rd and 5, a quick slant or button hook, you get the first down, keep the ball moving, keep the chains moving, keep possession of the ball. They didn't do that. They ran some elaborate play. Baker Mayfield overthrows the receiver, or it was incomplete, and they had to punt the ball. It's little things like that you see that they're overcomplicating things. And I think when you're doing that, you put your offensive line in a tough position as well, a line that's weaker. I know they had to trade. They made the big trade for Odell Beckham, but they gave away a lineman, a really good one, to the Giants. And so their line is not what it used to be, even from last year. So you add all that together, and you have an inconsistent offense that's struggling to find its way. And it doesn't help when Baltimore, who consistently has a top 5, top 10 defense, is really playing well. 33 points to Kansas City. As crazy as it sounds, well, Kansas City is not going to score 33 every night or every game, but they may be one of the only times this year that they do not get the 35 points. So hold them to 33 points on the road and be competitive throughout the contest. You know that the Ravens have a very solid defense, and that's why I see them winning this game big over the Browns. I say double digits, complete domination from Baltimore in this contest. The Giants are a 3-point favorite at home against Washington. Daniel Jones became the story of the NFL, starting in place of Eli Manning at Tampa last week. Threw for 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, added 2 rushing TDs in the victory. First rookie in NFL history, well, since 1970, to have 300 yards passing, 2 passing TDs, and 2 rushing TDs in a single game. So, tremendous performance from him. You kind of got to look at that contest. Obviously, a big win for the Giants, but Tampa up double digits in the second half. If their kicker can make a simple 35-yard field goal right down the middle and Tampa wins this game, I don't think you'll see as much love for Daniel Jones as you're seeing. But they found a way to win the game. I know on the game-winning drive for the Giants when the Red Sea parted and Jones just ran in the middle because the Bucs defense, I don't know what was going on there. It was a broken play. Eli Manning, even at his physical peak, would not have been able to make that play as far as running the ball down the middle for 15 yards for the touchdown. So you got to give Jones credit there for having the athletic ability to do it. I think long-term he has some good things. He fits all the physical character check marks. He's got good height. He's got good weight. He's elusive for a man his size. But it's going to take a very long time to establish himself as an all-time great as far as the Giants go. But a good first week for him overall. And then they face a team in Washington that lost at home to Chicago 31-15. Bad situation for Washington. Case Keenum's not the answer. Defensively, Washington doesn't bring much to the table. You have Josh Norman complaining about the referees and what's going on there when he's giving up big plays offensively. Washington was never in that contest against Chicago. It got blitzed first week of the season at Philadelphia. There's been not one shred of positivity for Washington. And now they're saying Jay Gruden may get fired. And he's actually lasted a long time there for Washington head coaching standards. But you look at the ownership and Daniel Snyder, you look at his ineptitude, you look at the stands where I grew up a New York Giants fan, and going into Washington was always, as far as divisional games went in the 80s and 90s, the toughest place to play. Now they don't play at RFK anymore. They play at FedEx Field. I think it's FedEx Field. So it's a different arena or a different stadium. But that fan base, it's a very strong and very aggressive, and it used to be an intimidating place to play. But since the early 2000s, they have brought nothing to the table as far as that goes. And they go through head coaches. And I said they went through that era where it was Mike Shanahan and then like Mari Schottenheimer. You just go down the list of all these Jim Zorn, just all these guys every 2-3 years, fire a coach, fire a GM. So they've stuck with Gruden for I think it's his 5th year or 4th year with the team, but you're not seeing any results from Washington, and they're getting lapped in that division by a pretty good margin. Philadelphia and Dallas are obviously much better than them. The Giants have new energy, starting Daniel Jones. Now, you say Washington does have Haskins, the rookie quarterback out of Ohio State. He will start by the end of the season. Case Keenum is a caretaker. He is not going to take you really far at all. I know he had a nice year 2 years ago when Minnesota got him to the NFC Championship game where they eventually lost at Philadelphia. But overall, it's a franchise that's crying for a complete overhaul, and that may not happen until the end of the season. It may happen mid-season. I just don't think that firing Gruden right now is going to accomplish much of anything. Mid-season firings, I know very rarely do they achieve anything. But Washington right now, you got to figure to put together a decent game and make it competitive against the Giants, who have some hubris about them right now because that big win over Tampa Bay, they've heard all week about how great they are and how things are going. I'm going to take Washington to maybe pull off the upset here. I've been talking bad about Washington this whole time, but I think they find a way to make it competitive, and it's only 3 points. So Washington will kind of be my upset pick there as far as that game goes. The Chargers are a 16-point favorite at Miami. Dolphins are a mess right now, worst team in the NFL by a pretty good margin. The Jets are bad too, but they're dealing with injuries and some other things. Miami intentionally is bad. I think they'll find a way to win a game this season. I don't think New England they'll lose a game. I think we're not going to have an undefeated team or a winless team in 2019. I think even with as bad as Miami is, they'll find a way to get it together. And plus, they have 2 games against the Jets. Again, they play Buffalo. So they'll find a way to win one of those contests. 16 points, though, at home against the Chargers. As I mentioned earlier, the Chargers lost 27-20 at home to Houston. You look at Los Angeles every year. Obviously, you start with Phillip Rivers, a very strong quarterback. Been playing. We'll talk about the Eli Manning and his Hall of Fame credentials, but he can the same and Roethlisberger, who's injured for the season, and those 2 guys. You look at Phillip Rivers, same draft class, has played 15-plus years, not been to a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl like Roethlisberger and Manning, but you look at the numbers, he always plays. He's a very consistent performer. You look at the other talent position guys there, and you look defensively, you see Bosa, and you figure Ingram, and you figure, wow, they could be a really good team. And you look up, and the Chargers are 9-7, 10-6, make the playoffs, maybe not make the playoffs, and just kind of putter out there. And you just look at a Houston game, very winnable contest, and that's the difference between being a 11-12 win team and putting yourself in contention for a Super Bowl and being that wild card team that has to travel somewhere. That's really the main difference. And the Chargers, this is one of those games where they should win. They better win. But Miami's going to make it close. I will not be surprised if this is a single-digit game in the fourth quarter, as far as maybe even down to a touchdown. And the Chargers needing to get a late score to preserve the victory. And that's why I have the Dolphins covering, or I have the Chargers not covering this game, and the Dolphins losing by less than 16 points, because that's just the way the Chargers roll. Indianapolis is a 7-point favorite at home against Oakland. The Colts are coming off a 27-24 home victory over Atlanta. Jacoby Brissett, and I watched the first half of this game. Clean pocket. I think he made his first 13 to 15 completions, passing attempts in the victory. Second half, a little bit dicey for the Colts. but Indiana found a way to get a victory. So that's good for them. Oakland lost at Minnesota 34-14. But I got to talk about Darren Waller. A very interesting story and personal ties. He played at North Cobb High School with my nephew in Ackworth, Georgia. So I've seen the guy since he was a high schooler. Went to Georgia Tech and selected in the NFL. Was with the Ravens. Dealt with personal issues. I'm not going to give his life story out here right now. But he has found his way back in the NFL. Had a career-high 13 catches for 134 yards last week. And he has 26 receptions so far this year, which is second in the NFL on top of all tight ends. And if he gets 8 catches on Sunday at Indy, he'll pass Antonio Gates for the most receptions by a tight end through the first 4 games in the season in NFL history. So he's found a way to find a spot in the NFL. Oakland is one of those teams where, with the Antonio Brown saga and how that all went down, we saw it was like a big vacuum when he left the team, but not much has been left there. They rallied and got a nice win opening night at home against Denver. But beyond that, you look at the roster, and there is not much to like on there. You look at, they're on Hard Knocks, and there's always that Hard Knocks bump where you think the team's going to be better than they are because you're seeing them a lot being covered on that documentary series on HBO. But watching that series, and you look at the players, yes, they have Carr, the quarterback, but beyond that, and Jacobs, I know, is a promising rookie running back out of Alabama, but beyond that, there's not much talent there. And this is where they'll lose this game. But the Raiders really they're really trying to hold out until they get to Vegas, which should be next year. If they don't, that'll be another lame duck year in Oakland. No one wants to see that. Or maybe if you're an Oakland fan of the Raiders and you live there, you want to see that. But outside of that, not much inspiration as far as what's going on in Oakland. So the Colts, I think, find a way to win this game pretty easily. Kansas City is a 6.5-point favorite at Detroit. I got to take a deep breath every time I go over to Patrick Mahomes' numbers because every week he's breaking some record or is on the verge of setting another mark. All right, so in his 20th career game, which was last week, he threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions in that victory over Baltimore, with a passer rating of 132. Through 20 career games, he has the highest mark by a quarterback in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and passer rating in NFL history. He also recorded his 13th career game with at least 300 yards passing, so he surpassed Kurt Warner for the most by a player in his first 20 games in NFL history. So Warner had 12 300-yard passing games in his first 20 starts. Mahomes has 13 in his first 20 starts. One more. As I mentioned, in that win against the Ravens, he's the first player to record at least 350 passing yards, 3 TD passes, and 0 interceptions in 3 consecutive games in NFL history. Any games, not just a start of the season, not just the end of the season, not just for a rookie or a 10-year veteran, any 3 games in NFL history. And he's done it to start a campaign where he just set records as the MVP the previous year. I don't see how the man can be stopped, and he's doing it without Hill, who was his top target last year or over the past year and a half. And Hill is out with an injury. He should be back eventually. You look at him, and they're going to lose a game, and they're going to have one of those performances where they only score 20, 24 points. They do play New England later on in the year, and that can happen. Maybe when they play the Chargers put together a really good performance and find a way to do that. But it's getting to the point where if you can't score 30, you're not going to beat that team. And defensively, they're become more respectable. You got Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, him on the squad. You're getting some improvements on that team. And it's not like they have to become a top 5 defense. They're not asked to do as much as Baltimore or Chicago, where you have some offensive limitations. just hold a team to 20 to 24, and you're going to win the majority of your contest. And Kansas City can find a way to do that. And they do face a good team in Detroit who's undefeated through the first 3 games of the season. But as I said, Kansas City, I just don't see them losing a game in the near future, especially not at Detroit. Fast track indoors. They're going to find a way. They're going to win a lot of games, put up some tremendous numbers this year. So that's why Kansas City, I think, finds a way to roll in that contest. Let's see, what's the next game that we have? We have New England at Buffalo. Another intriguing contest. Buffalo, 3-0, first time in a long time. I think they've only started 3-0 3 times since the year 2000. So 20 years, only 3 times that they've had a 3-0 start to a campaign. So you look at that for Buffalo, very impressive. And yes, they've not played a murderer's row of opponents, but wins are wins. I know that they beat Cincinnati last week, 21-17, but they're finding a way to get victories. New England is a team that's on some historical marks on their own. They defeated the Jets last week, 30-14. They're the first team to not allow a passing or rushing TD each of their first 3 games of a season in the Super Bowl era. So you look at all the great defenses in Super Bowl history: the Steelers, the 85 Bears, the Giants squads, the 49ers, even the Baltimore Ravens in 2001, Tampa when they won their Super Bowl. All those teams did not accomplish that goal of not allowing a passing or rushing TD through the first 3 games of the season. So, and granted, the Patriots have played the hapless Dolphins, the Jets, who are in a bad spot, and Pittsburgh. Now, Roethlisberger was healthy in that. Well, he started the game, but he knew he wasn't right. But still, I mean, it's the NFL. They're still professionals. Very good mark for them. And they're also the first team to hold opponents scoreless in the first half of 5 consecutive games, including the postseason. And that's the longest stretch in the Super Bowl era. So defensively, we talk about the Patriots, you think Tom Brady. And we'll get to Tom Brady in a moment. But defensively, you finally have a squad that is versatile. It kind of fits Belichick's kind of a Neba style of play. 3 linemen, 4 linemen, a lot of safeties. It's the best defense that he's had there, maybe since the Teddy Bruschi and Willie McGinnis. Maybe the best defense they've had there in the past 10 years. And they've won Super Bowls without good defenses. And this one is tremendous. Brady himself, 360 yards and 2 TDs in that Jets victory. So he has 71 career games with 300 passing yards and 2 TDs, surpassing Peyton Manning for second most NFL history. He's not going to catch Drew Brees, who has 93, but second, another little thing over Peyton Manning. And I want to mention Frank Gore as well. 1,912 yards in his NFL career. So he's now 88 yards short of 15,000. And if he gets that mark, he'll be only the 4th player in NFL history to reach that mark. And the 3 of them go by one name: Emmett, Barry. Why am I wrinkling on that? That's terrible. So the other 3 guys ahead of him are, and that's bad. I have so much in my mind right now. But obviously Emmitt Smith. You have Walter Payton. Goodness, I'm not forgetting Walter Payton. That's terrible. So the other 3 guys, we're going to do that again, are single name guys. Emmett, Barry, and Walter are the only other guys in NFL history with 15,000 career rushing yards. Gore, if he stays healthy, will reach that mark at some point this year. So he had to be acknowledged in that regard. And as far as the game goes, let's see. It's in Buffalo. 7-point margin for the Pats. Man, I really want to believe in the Bills Mafia, but I think they'll keep it close. And New England wins the game, but that 7 points is such a on the mark number as far as what the margin can be. Now I'm going to say New England wins by more than 7. And I really hate saying that as a New Yorker. And being in the state of New York right now while we're recording this, I really want to go with the Bills. But I'm going to take the Pats to cover by that -7. So but I think Buffalo, you got to figure they could be a playoff team because you look at the mathematics of it. And I said they still have the Jets once. They still have Miami. They'll find a way that you got to get to, I say 9 to 10 wins. And that's the way it breaks down. And they have the NFC East as their counter. I take that back. It's the NFC East they have this year as far as their counter. So they get Washington. They beat the Giants already. And they get Dallas. We'll see what happens there. And so they can get some wins there. But at least for this week, I think that New England will find a way to win that contest. Atlanta's a 4-point favorite at home against Tennessee. Honestly, if I didn't live in Atlanta and didn't go to college in Nashville and have some familiarity with the Titans franchise, I would not watch this game at all. I think both teams are so inconsistent. And it's kind of inconsistency on different ways. We'll start with the Titans. It's at quarterback. Marcus Mariota, good guy. When he's healthy, he seems like he's okay and adequate, but you need beyond that. And I think the Titans have a good defense, and they lost last week at Jacksonville 20-7. They have good defense, solid running game. I think Vrabel's okay as a head coach, but when you're not getting good play from your quarterback, it messes everything up. And that's where the Titans are right now. They may have outside of quarterback, maybe a 9-win squad, but with quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill's not the answer either. And that's why I think Mariota still on the field playing for them, because if you go to Ryan Tannehill, it's not going to change much. But either way, you're looking at a 7-win team with the lack of good quarterback play. Falcons, it's kind of it's everything outside. I look at the Falcons this way, and they lost at Indianapolis 27-24 last week. Since we're in Atlanta and we get to go to some of the practices and talk to players and things like that, you look at the roster and you say, wow, they have some really good players. Matt Ryan's been a Pro Bowler, former MVP, led team to Super Bowl appearance, but he's thrown 5 interceptions already this year. You look at Julio Jones, he's a touchdown per game he's averaging. That's great. But when are they being scored? Outside of the one against Philadelphia, which proved to be the game winner on Sunday Night Football, a lot of garbage time touchdowns. And they're touchdowns, so you don't want to take too much credit away, but they were at points where the deciding of the game was already done. And then you look at the line, or you look at they have some guys flash. Grady Jarrett, very good lineman. You have Deion Jones, good middle linebacker. Keanu Neal, who tore his Achilles, and you feel bad for the guy because he's coming off ending injury last year with the knee, and now it's the Achilles. Very unfortunate break for him. But you look at him, when he was on the field, it's like, wow, he's a Pro Bowl player. But where's the inconsistency? It's at the line of scrimmage. They don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. As you saw, Jacoby Brissett looking like it was a 7-on-7 drill, making multiple passes. I said it was like 13 or 14 for 14 to start the game. You can't have that. And then you look at the other side, the offensive line, and they were dealing with injuries themselves, especially to a rookie lineman, but not providing enough protection. And then you have Matt Ryan, who's not throwing off a good base, worried about being hit, and it's just a bad situation. Plus the penalties, where you're getting double-digit penalties, averaging that per contest. They had 14 or 15 penalties in the Colts game. That's unacceptable. And we've been so busy with New York and dealing with Atlanta United, I haven't been able to read the headlines. But I saw the headline, or I haven't been able to read the story of the coverage, but I saw the headline. They're considering fines or bringing in officials to work on the penalty issue. Like, this isn't high school. This isn't college. This isn't where you commit a penalty. When I was baseball, when I played at my peak athleticism was high school baseball. Since I'm in New York, I'll get nostalgic. Playing for Browning, my high school, and if we made a mistake, it'd be a buck. Our coach Coach Sadowski, my boy, he would, if we made an error or you missed a sign or you didn't take a pitch at the right time, basic baseball stuff, it'd be a buck. So you put it the buck, and We pool all the money, and then we have a cookout at his house at the end of the year. It'd be fun times. But the point is, you could pull that in high school. It's like, oh yeah, I missed a sign, or I didn't hit the cutoff. Man, that's a buck. Haha, funny games. Because you're in high school. That's what the level you can do that at. Professionals, the fines or bringing in extra officials and doing all of that is unnecessary and really beneath a professional team. You should not have to stoop to that level. Now, if it works, then, hey, I guess you got to do what you have to do. But it's been a calling card for Dan Quinn and that franchise since he's been there, even their Super Bowl year. You look at the penalties and the sloppy play, it's never been good. So that's where they run into so many issues, and that's why you have a 10-win talent roster and you end up winning only 8 games. However, in this contest, you have to figure that Atlanta's at home. Tennessee is not going to bring much to the offensive table. If the Falcons cannot win this game by at least 7 points, potentially double digits, I'm not going to say cancel the season or fire the coach, but you really have to question how far the Falcons can go at all this year. Rams are a 10-point favorite at home against Tampa. Tampa, we mentioned the loss at home to the Giants, 32-31 last week. Rams won at Cleveland 20-13. I think the Rams find a way to roll in this game by this should be a 14 to 20 point victory for the Rams. And as far as the Bucs go, Shaquille Barrett is having a very strong performance. He had 4 sacks in that Giants loss. He has 8 sacks through the Bucs' first 3 games. So he's tied with Mark Gastineau, who in 1984 had 8 sacks in the first 3 games of a season. So at least he's flashing there. But outside of that, you have to figure out the Rams' role in that contest. Seattle is a 5-point favorite at Arizona. Intriguing game. You figure Arizona, Kyler Murray maybe put up a few points, but Seattle, they lost at home to New Orleans, 33-27. Very surprising defeat there. So in Arizona, they lost at home to Carolina, 38-20, allowing Kyle Allen to have that big performance. You gotta think Seattle's the better team, and they can win the game. But Arizona may be frisky. But in the end, I'll take Seattle to cover and win that game. Chicago's a 2-point favorite at home against Minnesota. You look at Chicago, they won at Washington 31-15. And Minnesota's kind of the same way. If you run the ball, and Minnesota won 34-14 at home over Oakland last week. So both teams coming off of wins. And Dalvin Cook rushed for 110 yards and a TD in that victory. So so far this year, he has had at least 110 rushing yards and a TD in each of the team's first 3 games of the season. And the other guys that have done that, all Hall of Famers. Jim Brown in 58, Curtis Martin in 04, OJ in 75, Emmitt Smith in 1995. So you look at those numbers and what he's putting up. If he's a Hall of Famer, that'd be really good for Dalvin Cook. But it shows the formula of success for the Vikings. And for the Bears to a less degree. You run the ball. You don't rely too much on your quarterback. And both teams have quarterbacks at different stages. Trubisky, year 3, still trying to find himself. Is he going to be that Pro Bowler, MVP type of quarterback, or he's going to be a caretaker? Kirk Cousins, you figure he got the big contract. He's a 10-plus year veteran. Where is he at? But both teams, if they run the ball and rely on their top 10 level defenses, they will do well. In the end, I'm going to take the home team to win this contest because I think Kirk Cousins, they still trying to find a way for him to throw the ball way too much. And if you look at their wins, when they beat Atlanta and when they won against Oakland, Dalvin Cook had big rushing performances. And even in the Atlanta game in the season opener, Cousins only threw the ball 10 times. And you look at the loss, though, against Green Bay, Cousins threw the ball 30-plus times, including the interception in the end zone when they're trying to go for the game-winning drive. So that's where I think that they find a way to stumble, and that's where the Bears will win that contest. Denver's a 3-point favorite at home against Jacksonville. coin flip the game there. Minshew's been very strong. Even though Denver is not Denver that we know in the past, still a tough place to go. I'll take the Broncos to win that contest. And maybe in the game of the week, Dallas is a 2.5 point favorite at New Orleans. I'm going to take the Saints to win this contest. Alvin Kamara has been very strong so far this year. Had 161 scrimmage yards and 2 TDs in the win at Seattle, as you mentioned earlier. He has 23 rushing TDs and 10 receiving TDs with 34 career games. So he's the 5th player in league history to achieve that mark in their first 3 seasons, joining Hall of Famer Marcus Allen and some other good players as well, Roger Craig, Chuck Foreman, and Abner Hayes. I think Kamara has a very big performance against the Cowboys. I think Zeke has a big performance as well for Dallas. I think Bridgewater does enough, and I think you'll see more of Hill as well, Tatum Hill in the different formations at quarterback, and the Saints find a way to win that game. Finally, Pittsburgh is a 4-point favorite at home against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Another tough game to watch. I'm going to go with the Steelers. They're home. Cincinnati has to travel. It's not as bad as Thursday night, but still, Cincinnati, I have nothing positive I've seen so far from the Bengals. Pittsburgh, I know Jalen Roethlisberger and Rudolph is their new quarterback, but I'll just take the home team to win by more than 4 points. All right, that was a long NFL segment. I think the next one will be a little bit shorter, but we'll see. We only going to do 2 segments, though. Next one, though, is going to be on our free kick portion of the show, where we discuss Major League Soccer, specifically Atlanta United, here on the Sports Inquirer Show. All right, welcome back to the Sports Inquirer Show. Marcel Portude here with you. Let's talk about MLS Soccer and the original free kick portion of our show, specifically Atlanta United. We'll start with the win against San Jose on September 21st, and then we'll break down last night's loss at New York City FC. Atlanta was able to defeat San Jose 3-1 on September 21st. Paralacos from Emerson Hyndman and Pity Martinez lifted Atlanta to the victory. It was Hyman's first career MLS goal, while Miram added his 4th of the season. That victory did clinch a top 4 spot for Atlanta in the Eastern Conference, which means that they'll host a first-round playoff game, which is of significant importance as we break down the schedule later on. Miram scored the first goal of the contest in the 4th minute when Darlington Nagbe intercepted the pass on the right side and was able to, if you look towards Joseph Martinez on top of the box, who back-heeled to Pity Martinez, and Pity poked the ball past the San Jose defender, but Miram was able to run into the ball that was loose in the penalty area and made the score 1-0. So let's hear from Justin Miram. Let's get our audio up. Hold up a second. Let's get organized. Let's see. Miram, yep. So here's Miram discussing the goal and just after the contest.
Second assist. Brandon got an assist. Hyman got a goal. Pity got a goal. Stuff like a lot of guys that that haven't really contributed. Been playing really well and just waiting for their chance. And it's good to see that. I know me and Brandon talk a lot, and just happy to see him get an opportunity and make the most of it.
Yep. So that was a big goal for Miram. And the San Jose did tie the game 1-1 on an own goal by Brad Guzan. Christian Espinosa, it was a centering pass towards the middle of the penalty area, but it went off of Guzan and into the net and tied the score at 1-1. Now Espinosa did pick up a second yellow card in the 34th minute, which meant that San Jose was down a man. Espinosa, very silly. First yellow card was for interfering on a throw-in by Atlanta United, and the ref was quick to give a yellow there. And the second one, he had a skirmish with Franco Escobar and stepped on him, and the referee was right there to see it, and that led to a little bit of acting by Escobar, but still he did make contact with his foot, and that led to the second yellow. That opened things up in a big way for Atlanta. Atlanta was also struck with injury by Joseph Martinez midway through the second half. He went down pretty hard, and we'll hear the comments from Frank de Boer about the injury after the San Jose contest, but still, that was a very tough injury for them to deal with. But you saw Atlanta step up. Emerson Hyndman scored in the 90th minute, and he was able to take advantage of a nice centering pass from Darlington Nagbe, who was able to pass the ball through to Hyndman at the edge of the box. Hyndman took the touch and blasted it with his right foot in the upper corner to secure the 2-1 lead for Atlanta. And here is Hyndman talking about that goal and getting the win.
Missed a few chances early on, but D made a great run, slipped me through, and thankfully I finished that one.
Can you say what happened on the chance that you had in like the 6-yard box in the first half?
I have no idea. It's just one of those things that comes back to you. You react instinctively, and then it just went wide. I couldn't believe it went wide, obviously, but thankfully I was able to redeem myself toward the end.
Did you feel upon scoring?
I had other chances in the game. There was a couple of decent saves from the keeper, things like that. I always want to get myself in areas to score, and thankfully I was able to do that at the end. The pressure? No, teams in the past I played for, I always like to get in the box and try efforts at goal and just see what happens. And tonight obviously I got quite a few. Some of them didn't go my way, but the one that mattered, I guess, went my way. So I think that one. In the first half, we knew they were going to kind of almost man mark in a way, and so that was one of the first times I've seen a pitch so open, but at the same time closed. As a player, you got a man right behind you the whole game, even though you're going into positions where you don't think people will follow you. So it was a strange first half. I think as soon as they kind of got the red card, it opened up a little bit for us, obviously, as it would do. And but we had to be patient again, but at the same time press forward. And I think it showed at the end the quality.
So that was Emerson Hyndman talking about the victory and the importance of it. And as the Pity Martinez was able to secure get an extra goal off a nice give and go between Brandon Vasquez and Tito Villalba, and that made the score 3-1 and the extra time as well for Atlanta. So that victory, it was a good win. Some notes from it. Martinez with the injuries, 15-match scoring streak came to an end. It was the first time he didn't score in a league match since May 19th against the Red Bulls. Atlanta had 12 shots on goal, which tied to Atlanta's MLS single-game record, which was set in September of 2017. And Atlanta is now 10-1-3 all-time in games where the opponent received at least one red card. Let's hear from Frank de Boer and his thoughts on the San Jose win.
It's always, when it's wide open, it's more easy, of course. And again, we play against an opponent. They play the whole year almost like this, and it's a fantastic to see, but also vulnerable. And if you can get players, for example, down to neck me on the ball, and he can turn away from his opponent, he can almost run directly to the 18-yard box. And so that's the advantage when you play against a team like this. But you get a lot of free kicks because also for us, it's almost 1 against 1 everywhere on the pitch. So if you lose your man, and also that's also for them, then it's open. So they also make, when they see somebody's escaping, they make fouls. And so I think it was a very difficult game also for the referee, because there was always a doubt if it's a foul or not, and just a little bit pulling and everything. So, this is, I think we like this better than somebody put 2 buses in front of their own goal. Also. Correct. You're totally correct. No, but I think that's fantastic. In this period. Of course, you want to perform, on the highest level, on the quality that you can have in your team, and show that, But also in this period, you need 3 points, and they fought for it, and they were patient, and at the end, we get the result that we wanted, and it was not easy, but that doesn't count. We made a major step to secure the 3rd place. And now we can look up And we have already made probably the advantage that we have our first playoff games at home. So now second, and hopefully we can also look even higher to the first spot. And then we.
Which is not going to happen, because after that game against San Jose, they went up to New York City FC on September 25th, and without Joseph Martinez, they started Brandon Vasquez up front. Julian Gresso also out with a calf injury. Atlanta lost 4-1 on Wednesday night, which is last night at Yankee Stadium. Pity Martinez was able to score his 5th goal of the year on a penalty in the second half, which was a nice through pass that Pity Martinez sent to Vasquez, who was fouled in the penalty area, and Pity was able to score the goal but it was a lone goal for Atlanta. But when Alexandru had the first half hat trick, it was too much for Atlanta to overcome. Atlanta was, and you looked at the contest, all of the things that we're seeing from Atlanta, playing wide, playing a lot of through balls, pressing up, none of that happened against New York City FC. You have to be at the pitch to realize how small it is compared to your average soccer stadium or soccer pitch. But Atlanta did not do one thing really well the entire contest. The midfielders were beat to every ball. They lost all of the duels that Frank de Boer always talks about. There are a lot of through passes that went past the defense. Gonzalez, Perez, Pogba, and just did not bring much to the table. Miles Robinson as well. Just maybe their worst defensive effort of the year as a unit. You had Pity. I know he had that nice through pass to Vasquez, but outside of that, really did not have a strong performance. Vasquez was not able to really get any scoring opportunities. Nagme was playing so far back away from the opponent's goal, so he would get possession. It was just, but he couldn't really do much with it when he had the ball. I said there was just not one really good aspect to the contest. Possession, they even lost the possession battle. New York City FC had 55% possession. Atlanta, when they're really cooking and doing well, they have 60 to 70% possession. They only have 45 in the contest. So they're outshot, didn't have possession. New York City was better passing accuracy. Just look at the entire scope of the match, and it was just a bad loss. Let's hear from Frank de Boer about the performance and the struggles that they had against New York City FC.
The back of the line seemed to be all out of sorts. There wasn't any continuity between the midfield and the strikers. Just everybody seemed out of it.
Well, I think the last one, is the most important. I think if you already see the difference between first half and second half, it was exactly the same as in Atlanta. But we were winning every duel when they played long, and now they were much sharper than us. And the second half, you see, we were winning those duels, and we had more control. Okay, the last 10 minutes, maybe we were tired, to putting that much pressure. But the second half, we didn't have the problems anymore because we were winning those duels. And the first half, we were every time too late. We wanted not, if they played long, every time the ball bounces for them, and that's about reacting or anticipating. We were reacting the first half and not anticipating, and that's why I think the first 3 goals are, it's like a long ball, like more a counter-attack than, a build-up. And of course, they play very offensive, we play offensive. Then it's about mentality and winning those duels. And the first half, they were winning those duels, and they created those chances. Of course, we had maybe the first 2 big chances in the beginning. Franco, I think he gives a good pass on the back line. Pity had a very good chance in the box. But still, I saw directly that after 1 minute, we were like 2 duels. And I think, hey, if we are anticipating, we were winning those duels, and they were winning it. So it all comes on that. It's my point of view. See, we did it also against, okay, we played a little bit different at that moment, but still against Chicago also, before we woke up, we were already 3-0 down. Now it was not the case, but still, I had the same feeling, there were too many players weren't there to the first half. In the second half, it's a whole different game. It's equal, it can go both sides, and this is what you want against a very good team, of course.
And here's Brad Guzan post-match about the loss to New York City FC.
We weren't good. We weren't good by the moment we stepped on the pitch. They're better than us in every aspect of the game in the first half. We talked about it being a playoff game tonight. We talked about it being a real game. We talked about knowing that they're going to come out flying in the first minute. We weren't good enough. The spacing on the field was massive. Doesn't even do it justice because the spacing was that big that they had so much time and space on the ball to play. We were chasing shadows. And so, we didn't tackle, we didn't win balls in the air, we had 2 half chances in the first half compared to their chances. They're a good team, and we were nowhere near on the same level as today. It's a worrying thing, it's a mentality thing. We concede 1. You look at our record. The amount of wins that have come via clean sheets, and the amount of wins that have come after we conceded goals. Not good enough. From a collective group. We concede 1, heads drop, mentality goes, and so we've experienced this. LAFC, same thing. 10-minute spell, we conceded 3 goals. Chicago, that game was only 4 minutes. It's not good.
And Atlanta now heads to Montreal to face the Impact on the 29th of September. And if you look at the MLS standings, only 2 games left in the regular season. New York City FC looks like at least Atlanta's aspirations of being the top seed are done. New York City FC has 61 points. Philadelphia has 55 points. Atlanta has 54. So Philadelphia was able to win at San Jose 2-1 last night. So that means that Atlanta, if they want to get the number 2 seed, are going to need some help and win against Montreal and then at home against New England to try to get that second overall seed. They will host in the first round, but you get beyond that, they may have to go – if they have to come back to New York City FC, that's going to be very tough. Even Philadelphia has been a very feisty squad as well. So we'll break down more of Atlanta's playoff prospects when we return to Atlanta and do our preview of Montreal, and also give my recap of all the scenes and everything that's been going on in New York City since I've been here. Very interesting trip so far. But we're going to conclude today's show. Thank you for listening to our broadcast. As always, head to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. If you want to hear those full pressers that we just played, head to the site. They're right up on there, and that'll be a great way to do that. Also go to our social media platforms, which include Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Sports Inquirer. And finally, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes under The Sports Inquirer. Until next time, good fight and good night.